All right, welcome to Stocks and Squats. This is L. Jermaine Russell. I am here for another fun-filled edition of, what I did right and what I did wrong in the past week. This was from June 29th to July 2nd. Remember, on the 3rd there was a holiday, so the markets was closed on Friday, and then the 4th was, America's holiday, and then the markets open back up on the 6th, so which would be Monday, tomorrow, tomorrow. So if you haven't done so already, please like and subscribe, and feel free, if you ever have any questions, definitely ask me. I love charts, so when it comes to charts, I typically know which direction the stock is going to go, even if it does not, even if I don't play it right. I still have an idea of like where the stock could go, and so I really do like being able to not predict but understand the probability of where a stock might go, and when they're being traded, right? So I'm not going to start with GRAF. That will be one of the last trades that I want to go over, because it's one of those stocks that's definitely has some upside potential. But I do want to go over some of the stocks that I traded on my Robinhood account, because one, you can't see it, and then two, it's a smaller account, so it just gives me an idea of how I'm doing, particularly. So last week in this account, I was up 25%, which was roughly about $45. But just the idea of the trades that I was taking gave me a better sense of how I'm actually trading on this platform in itself, even though I don't like the platform whatsoever. So let's get started. I will start with PHCF. So I traded this. Let's see, what was my order? I traded this on the 29th. So the 29th was, like we said, it was Monday. So on the 29th, I bought this at $8.20. So let's go back. So let's first off, let's analyze the year chart, right? So why was this one of the reasons why I even bought it? Well, one of the reasons why I bought it was, if you've seen in one of my previous videos, and I have one video specific for this type of pattern, it's called EMA hack, because I have no other better way of saying it. But essentially, with the EMA hack, it just looks at how the EMAs, which is the red one is the 200, the yellow one is the 100, and the green one is the 50 EMAs, and how when they come together, and they come together in such a fashion like this, typically when you have a strong green day like this, you'll get an upstart like that, right? As we can tell on this day, which was June 10th, it had a strong green day, but it didn't really close over that 200 EMA, which is another type of indicator to get a sense of like, well, what happened in the past? How come it didn't really go higher? How come it didn't have this type of spike? So because of this type of move, you tend to just like wait for another spike like this, which it closed over the 200 EMA. And when we go to the 2-minute chart, we'll see how it did during the after hours on that day. I can't really zoom out, can I? So I bought it. Oh, there we go. I bought it on Monday, right? So I bought it at, I said 8:20. Let me just make sure I have the right time that I bought it at 3:45 on the 29th. So on the 29th, 3:25, that's around here, right? So right around here, I bought right around this breakout here, and it popped up. If I was really, really diligent, I probably would have got more in at that 2 p.m. time when it was starting to pull back, and it was still trading above this purple line, which is the VWAP. Now, the VWAP, if you're not very familiar, is an indicator, is a technical indicator that allows you to see the direction of how a trade is going based on that day. It's the volume weighted average price. So on that day, which this indicator is really good for day traders, it allows you to see if if it's still trading above it, if the price action is above that VWAP, typically the price will go higher. If it's below the VWAP, then the prices will go lower. At this given time, it pulled back, but it was still above the purple line, right? And then once it started to hold support here at that purple line, it wanted to break this resistance, right? This resistance was at 686. So if I was paying more attention, which I probably more than likely, this was the last day of my yoga training, so I know I wasn't paying too heavily of a mind on it. But once I had a free moment and saw that I should get in, it was already up pretty much like a dollar, almost $2 a share from when I bought it, really. So if I was really paying attention, I could have got in once it hit that breakout at that 680-ish area, and from that 680-ish area, could have just rode the wave $2 a share. I sold it just because I saw that it was overbought, and I want to get into the habit of selling into the strength. When you sell into the strength, there's no way that you can like really not be profitable, and I'm starting to see that more and more often now with my trades. You sell into the strength, you would become more profitable. So I sold it. What time did I sell it? See, this is why I don't like. I don't like this. I sold it. Oh, I sold it at 8.20. I'm so sorry. I sold it at $8.20 a share, and I bought it at $7.60 a share. So I still waited a little bit too long. And when I bought it at that $7.60 a share, I was really trying to buy at $7.45 a share originally, but I canceled that order, and I got it completed at $7.60 a share. It was only 20 cents a share where I bought it at, and I'm trying to see the actual time that I bought it at 760, but it's not showing me, which is fine. It's okay. But I bought not at the 680, but I probably bought it somewhere around here. This about probably like it says 660, so I probably bought it already here, and it was really like an in and out trade because I held it for maybe 10 minutes at the most. So because of the way that EMA, like I said, this EMA hack, like once I'm seeing these EMAs starting to converge, it's been a common thread that these stocks start to spike up a little bit higher. So this is something that you could probably look at. Just look at different stocks, and remember, if you check out the other video, I put down some indicators on, like, whether it's a low flow, the volume, if there's any news, and the EMAs, to seeing where the EMAs are, and buy at support, sell into the strength. It's really becoming a common thread in some of these trades that I'm looking at. So let's look at the next one. Hopefully that would kind of gear people into the next direction, or into a good direction. Just want to make sure I see. Oh, what was the next one? It was CPSH. CPSH. There we go. So something similar. You can tell I did try back here to buy in, and I'm pretty much that's probably in the video for May 6th. So I bought it. Where did I buy it? See the details. I'm not a big fan. I probably should just do a separate video for Robinhood trades. I'll do that next time. But essentially, I ended up buying this. I bought 50 shares at $2.30. That's when I sold it. When did I buy it? Receive your order. I canceled that order. When did I buy? Oh, okay. Great. I bought it at $2.70, and this was on June 30th, right? So let's zoom in. And once again, this is one of those EMAs that I like when the 50 crosses over to 200. I absolutely love that because it gives it a sense where the stock can go higher, right? Which it does. And this is also a typical sign. You'll see it. If you see that the 50 crosses below the 200, then you'll see that the stock declines. Well, this time the 50 crossed over the 200, and it was holding steady, right? It was holding steady above this 160 area over here. Um, so I bought on the 30th at, like I said, $2.30 a share, $2.07. Sorry. Great, your order to buy 50 shares has been filled at $2.07, and this was at 3 p.m. So at 3 p.m., that means that I bought going into the close. So let's look at the minute chart, the 2-minute chart, how it shows up. So I bought going into the close, I bought going into the close at $2.07. So you see that it's holding support. What was this, at 3 p.m.? So it's holding support here. After it did a big spike, it spiked up and then came right down, right? And it held over the VWAP. Once again, held over the VWAP. The EMAs are over the VWAP except for the 200, which usually gives me caution when the 200 doesn't come over the VWAP, because then I think that it can come on down a lot heavier, like what it did over here. It came straight on down, and then you see that the 50 crossed below the 200. But essentially, when I bought, I said, I'm going to sell into strength. And at the time, I wasn't seeing it. Let's look. At the time, once it came to this resistance area, it broke 240. It came up to 247. But the price action on the level 2 was not, to me, showing that it was going to go to 270 or 269. It just showed that it was going to come down. So once I saw a little bit of uptick and it was starting to come back to this 240 area, I sold. I didn't want to play around. But if I just waited a couple more minutes, and we see here on the MACD that the stock did still have some type of upside, even though like the momentum was starting to decrease, and it didn't start to decrease until over here, like over here being like where this MACD is, and you see the decline there. But even right here, we see that once it hit that spike of 270, it was overbought down here, right? So we see that the MACD is showing that there's some movement, some momentum, and then it comes back down. And let's say the reason why I even got to 269 in the after hours, because at some point or another, 269 must have been resistance somewhere. So we're like around here, right? So let's see. So we say 270, 269. There's resistance over here. Resistance, resistance, resistance. More resistance over here. Well, this is more 260. But you get it. You understand here, right? Because this is previous resistance over here. So that is what it was retesting. It was retesting that previous resistance. Because that's what these stocks do. They retest their support. They retest their resistance. And then what dictates happens after that is the amount of volume. What type of volume is able to move forward, to move the stock forward. And that's what happened with CPSH. I wasn't sure, like I said, like once it was just finding, like I was seeing the level 2, and once it was just finding this like resistance around here, I said, you know what, I'll be better off if I just cut my losses. which Allah said, after buying at $2.07 a share and you sell at $2.40 a share, it's more of just taking your profits there, you know, which is fine. I would rather take profits than, trying to hope and hold. So moving to the next one, let's go with BKYI. BKYI, I ended up buying this at, what is it, 96 cents a share. I bought it at 96 cents a share. BK, where are you? There you are. So I bought it at 96 cents a share. I also bought this. I bought this after hours, right? And so I bought this at 4:32 on June 30th. And as you could tell before I tried buying it, I was thinking that when I bought this, that if I bought it closer to over here, then maybe I would have got the run up to $1.50 because it went from 70 cents to $1.15, $1.20. But I didn't. I ended up losing 15 cents a share on it because, like I said, I was anticipating it doing a stronger move to the upside, but it didn't do that. And nor did it over here either. As you could tell, it had a strong green day here, but that overhead resistance was just way too overwhelming. That overhead resistance here at $1.01. And you can see, if we look at the base of this candlestick, let's just zoom in just a little bit. We see that on the year chart, if we look at the base of this candlestick, we see that 101, 101, 105 over here, same thing over here, same thing over here. So this testing, this breaking that, that whole dollar amount really became an obstacle. And because it did that, even though this EMA lines are all there, this is one trade that proves that EMA hack does not work all the time. So if you get in at a good position, which I, relatively, if I was really, more diligent, I probably would have got in the 80-cent area. But like I said, it was already, up during after hours. So when it came up after hours on June 30th, I bought, what was that, 4:30 p.m. So I bought when the support was starting to happen here, and I I knew it was going to go up, but I didn't know it was going to go up at 4 a.m., which it did. It went up at 4 a.m. And that's the one thing about this platform, Robinhood, and even Thinkorswim, is that you don't necessarily have access at 4 a.m. I have access on Thinkorswim at 7 a.m. So when that rise went up like that, I obviously missed it. And even at 5 p.m. to 6 p.m., even at 7 would probably been the best time to sell at $1.15. I ended up selling this at, I think it was $1.07, $1.05. So $1.05. Only really made 11 cents a share. But out of that 11 cents a share, I ended up, I had 150 shares of it. So, I'm not saying that the 150 shares is really supposed to cover up for that trade in itself, but at least I was able to take some type of profit because of the fact that the stock moved up, and even though I couldn't sell into strength, I was still, I was still able to sell above the price point where I bought in at. And the main reason why I was starting to see was that more of the price action was starting to head downward. And because it was heading downward, and the 50 EMA, which is most important, that 50 EMA was starting to cross below. It was starting to come real close. And I'm paying more and more attention to this. When the EMAs, especially when I buy in at a nice support area, when the EMAs start to cross or start to get close, the 50 EMA starts to get close to that 100 EMA, I'm just learning just to take my profits, because it doesn't make any sense to wait and see if the 50 EMA doesn't cross below the 200 EMA before making an upturn. And as you can tell here at this $1.09, that's what it did. It kind of just peaked up before it's coming to slam right back down. So so and the price action was once again below the VWAP. So I had two different indicators. I had the VWAP and the EMA going close to the 100 EMA, the 50 EMA going close to the 100 EMA, that was showing that it could go lower. And on top of that, we had the MACD, which was showing significant downside. And then we also had the RSI that was also showing that it would become oversold. So yeah, so these were two good reasons. Well, two. I think I have four. You know, the VWAP, the EMAs, 15 to 100 getting close, the MACD, and the RSI. Four different indicators that point in the same direction of a downturn. So just taking the profits was more of a better option here with BKYI. Now, why it didn't go higher? I don't know. There wasn't enough news, I guess. There wasn't enough momentum. There wasn't enough volume. You know, there was probably a lot of factors that definitely prevented this from going higher, despite the EMA being so close. But you know, this is something that I would still keep in mind for the future, because we really don't know how this stock is going to play out later on. Because it could go higher. It definitely could. But we just need a little bit more proof that it can go higher. It needs to prove itself. FLDM. FLDM, if I can remember this one, I bought it. It didn't do what I wanted. I bought it on June 1st. Let's find you first. FLDM, I bought you on June 1st. Alright, so that's right here. Strong candlestick. And let's look at the EMAs. The EMA has a 200 EMA above the 50 and the 100. So we already know off bat that this is not something that I typically play, right? It was a strong candlestick after a red day, and before that was a green day. So typically I'm thinking, hey, this is an engulfing pattern. And this engulfing pattern is not only retesting the previous resistance at 430, but you know, the MACD, which also shows that there's some upside potential, and the RSI, which was showing that it's not overbought and it's in a bullish direction. It's not oversold at all. So this shows that it has some type of upside. But my impatience, because of, you know, I do lack patience at times, I didn't want to hold this all the way through. So I ended up selling this for like a 3-cent loss, I believe, or a 4-cent loss. I sold this. I bought it at $4.34 on the first, and I sold it on the second, right when the market, it was like 7 minutes right after the market opened at 7:39. I sold it at $4.29. So let's look at this chart. Let's investigate what happened. Let's see. So not only did it go, let's see what day is this. This is the 30th. I bought it on the 31st. I bought it not the 31st, on the 1st of July. And I bought it at what time? What time did I buy these? 3:51. So at 3:51, it's right around here. So at 3:51, I was seeing, you know, this support happen, and you know, we're seeing it actually come to this breakout point. So I bought the breakout. I didn't buy at the dip. I bought the breakout point, and it started to tank the next day. It started, I shouldn't say tank, but it was coming to 420s. And I sold already at this point because I wasn't sure if it was going to come down to 415. Right? I thought it was going to come down a whole lot lower, because if we look back here, you know, 412 showed support. You know, 412, 414, there was support back here, support back here, support back here, support back here, right here. So I wasn't sure if it was going to break down. and it didn't. Like, not only did the EMAs hold, it started to trade slightly above that VWAP area. The VWAP, this purple line here, it started to trade above that. And yes, it did start to tease below that VWAP, but it was holding, and it held. And this is how I know that not only does the candlestick work when it comes to stocks that have a reverse pattern where the 200 EMA on the year chart is above the 50 EMA on the year chart. Not only does the candlestick matters, but we can see the MACD and the RSI also confirm that it has potential of going higher. So could I have waited to sell? Yes, I did get a little antsy. I did not want to sell, but I sold, and I missed out on this run up to 480. Maybe I would have sold. Maybe I would have sold like right around here, 460, maybe 470. But right around here, yeah, this is where I'm seeing more of that selling to the overbought. This is where overbought was happening around here. I probably would have sold into that strength right there and sold at that 460, maybe 470 ish area. Probably more 465. I probably would have sold around there. And then once it found this little resistance at 470, it pulled back and then went back up. Right, so this was definitely one of those that I could have held a little bit longer, being that it was showing strength, after the pullback, after this mighty pullback to the 200 EMA, really didn't pay much more attention. And let's look at it from this standpoint, right? We don't see anything else after it, but we just see this. And then after this, it's like, well, what else am I seeing? I see the MACD. The MACD is showing that these two lines, which typically, I have a color coded sky blue and like tan or whatever, off yellow, off white. When that blue line goes below that tan line, for me, right? And you might color code the blue line as something else and the tan line is something else. But once that blue line crosses over, it typically means that the stock is going higher. But if that blue line crosses below that tan line, that means it's coming down lower. So I was seeing that coming down lower. And as it was coming down lower, not only was the selling pressure starting to diminish slightly, which is hard to determine in itself, I thought that these two lines was going to cross below this x-axis. And when it crosses below that x-axis, that is usually more of a bearish sign. That means that it's going to go down lower. Not only did it do that, it bounced. And when it bounced, you can see with the RSI is that the RSI also pulled up. So now we're going to see the blue line cross over. And as we can see here, the blue line crossed over, the selling pressure is over, and it's going to go higher. The candlestick really showed a little bit more of its strength there. So the candlestick on the year chart showed more of its strength there, and I should have trusted that, but I could not. So that was FLDM. Really good technicals essentially. The only caveat was that 200 EMA being so higher above the 50 and the 100 EMA. Let me see if there was another stock that I bought on. Yeah, I bought GRAF. I bought 10 shares at on July 2nd at 16.29. And then I sold same day right before 1 p.m. at 18.15. So let's go to GRAF. You see, this is one of those hackable trades. One of these trades that will go higher. You have all the EMAs all in one line. Not one line, but it's essentially in one line. And this is an overnight hold for me. So, on my Thinkorswim account, I was not thinking about holding it overnight until I saw that I had um, no day trades in one account. I had a day trade in another account, but I didn't want to sell the shares. I wanted to sell them all at one time, so I kind of just held on to it. But essentially, it's overbought now. The last time it was overbought, it it pulled back, right? So it kind of did one of these numbers here, where you have this base here is kind of in between, and it pulled back the very next day. Let's look at that in particularly. This was what, 3 days ago. So after it had a spike here, and mind you, I didn't buy on this day. Right? Let's go back to that year chart again. Just make sure I have the right days. So this was the 29th, and on the 30th it pulled back, right? So this is the 30th. So on the 29th they had the spike up. So going into the market close, it spiked up. Yeah, this is nice. It pulled back a little bit during the after hours, but during the pre-market, it started to hold. Could not break this resistance here at $16, and then it pulled back. And this is something that I'll expect, right? I will expect this, especially after a big run up the day prior. Like, it can't break this resistance. So I hope that on Monday, that resistance at $22, we'll get to that. We'll get to my thesis. So it couldn't break this resistance, and then it pulled back to the 200 EMA, which tends to happen. So this is where that dip and rip occurs. So now I know I typically say I do not buy until about 10:30. And this will be the only time that I would ever do that, which I didn't buy this stock at this time. Neither on my Thinkorswim platform or on my Robinhood platform. But just to give an observation too, that dip and rip. Dip and rip, once that morning panic happens at 9:45, that is a good time to actually buy, because not only, like in this example, and you'll see many more examples after this where a stock will go, probably even a lot deeper than this what the 200 EMA suggests. You'll probably get the 50 cross below the 200 EMA. Well, I'm not going to wait for that 50 to cross below that 100 EMA. If I'm already in this stock from back here, or even over here, like I'm not going to waste that time, right? $14. If I got in at $14, and the market opens and we're seeing the 50 come over here, I'm already in almost $1 a share. I'm just going to take my profits because it's going to spike. It's going to tumble down. Now, yeah, it dipped down and found support. And once it found support, because it was oversold, if you look at the RSI and the MACD even suggests that, hey, that blue line is starting to cross back on over, and we're starting to see some buying opportunities here. So we see some buyers here. And then not only did it come up and cross the x-axis, but that blue line still stayed above that tan line, and now you could sell into the spike, right? So you could have got in at that 1475, which was that previous support over here. Could have got in over there. Support, and then the support broke down, so it could have really went down to 410 if it really wanted to, but it didn't, right? So once it found that support at that 1475 area, it started to ramp right back on up. You could have sold in the strength at $17, right? And then it came right back down. So this is something that I anticipate going into Monday, right? Monday, or at least Friday, I should say. Thursday going into Friday, I bought this at, I said, what, 1610 on my Robinhood account. My Robinhood account, I bought it at no six. I bought 10 shares at $16.29. Yes, I know it was only 10 shares, but I really wanted to test out my strategy. So 10 shares, let's go, let's try it. Um, so I tried it. Right, I bought this at 9.52. So at 9.52, which was a little bit earlier than what I typically want, you see what it did. It spiked pre-market, which is also another good indicator to see if a stock will go higher during the day. And then it came right down, morning panic. I thought that it could have went to the 14s, and it didn't. It was holding support. Once it held support, I say, okay, let me buy some. Then it came out with news about a merger deal um, with Velodine, Velodine lidar, right? So it came out with this news. Um, the company is focused on tech for autonomous vehicles, which there's a lot of autonomous vehicles happening right now, or at least that space is moving pretty well. So I ended up selling shares in this account at right 5 minutes before one. So right around here, I sold some shares at 18.15. As you can tell, it kind of held. I ended up, I did buy some on my Thinkorswim account right here at a little after 11 at 16.50, 16.48, and then I bought some more after it kind of broke. It was about to break resistance, so I said, let me buy some more. It dipped. When it dipped, I bought some more, and as you can tell, it ramped on up. I should have at least taken off half of those shares when it ran up to $22. I saw that run up. I was like, oh, I should sell. I chose not to. I chose to hold over the weekend just because of that merger deal. I wanted to see if it was going to do the same thing that GPAQ did, where GPAQ related to the Hall of Fame and all that stuff. They had their merger agreement with the Hall of Fame, right? Gordon Point acquisition. They were doing like stuff with the teens in the Ohio Canton area, and they were going to expand. So they had their merger agreement, and when they closed during the pre-market up three. I think it was $3 more a share. So it spiked. It spiked into the in the after hours, and then the very next day around 7:30. It came up to $15.63, and the stock transitioned to the Hall of Fame stock. And if you were in at this point, you could have just sold your shares for a profit, right? Because it was up $3 a share right there. Um, Actually, let's look at what the Hall of Fame ticker became. It became HOFV. Right, that's what I'm thinking. Yep, HOFV. Sorry, HOFV. So it was trading right around here, this $12.85, and then started to pull back. Right, started to pull back. So I anticipate something similar. Because this is Hall of Fame here. That's what happened with this stock. I don't know if the same exact thing is going to happen with this one, but I do anticipate some type of run up on this stock. So that's with GRAF. There's a couple of other shell companies that are probably doing the same thing. SHLL. I didn't buy this. I wish I did. As we can tell, what did it do? It ran all the way up after this EMA was just pretty much thin here. Spiked, pulled back, spiked some more. So this was something I wish I bought. Didn't buy it. Obviously, it's too overbought right now for me to even consider it. But I kept it on my list. HCCH. I bought this one, another one that's another it's another acquisition company. They're more than likely you know, going to buy out another company. I don't remember all the ideas that was going on with this one, but I did buy right around here at 1237. I waited for the dip to 1189 to the 200 EMA. Even when I bought up here, it was still, even though it was kind of like pulling back, I could have waited a little bit more. I thought it was going to bounce and go a little bit higher from there, but my impatience got to me. I could have waited for that pullback, but I said, you know what? I'm going to add. And why did I add? Because when I saw it on the chart, it was showing that it wasn't overbought. And I like when stock shows that it's not overbought. So I ended up buying more, lowering my average, and then I sold in the pre-market at 1350, 1315, I should say. It came up to a high of 1330, but why risk that, especially when you look at the hour? And this is why I like looking at different time frames. When you look at the different time frames, it kind of shows you, whether a stock is overbought or not. This was showing that the momentum on the hour was starting to slow down. So, I'm going to adhere to that and just take my profits, right? That was typically $1 a share right there. But I did buy more, and I bought like 50 shares. I did buy 50 shares. Let's go to, yeah. So I bought, and, like I said, I typically don't like to buy so early. I bought way too early. Um, I'm glad I only bought 50 shares, but this was a undisciplined trade because I bought way too early. If I had just waited, I could have waited for that pullback, right? Because it was already overbought at this point. I don't know how much higher in hindsight, that I can have seen this go. Of anything, just let it pull back, and if it doesn't pull back and it goes higher, just let it go. You know, um, that's a meridian thing with my lungs, right? If anyone of you who does yoga and knows about meridians, you know, your lungs is a meridian point pathway that makes it either difficult for you to let go or gives you a lot of inspiration because you're taking on a lot of inhalation, right? So it gave me an opportunity to say, you know what, let me let go. And I didn't take that opportunity to let go. So I'll work on some acupressure points later on tonight, but that's besides the point. It went up too high. I bought too early. I said I only like to buy like around 10:30. I could have waited around 10:30 and could have got in like, when it was trading near the 200 EMA. It still came down even more. What was it, like from here to here? That's 15 cents because it went down to 11.84, but it still came right back up, and it came back up another 40 cents after that. So I could have waited, like I said, I could have waited, but I chose not to, and I could have taken profits, even though it pulled back, in the after hours. I still could have taken some profits. But yeah, I think I want to stop there. I did trade a couple of other ones. I want to do because this is so long already. I think I'm going probably 40 minutes. Yep, 43 minutes. And I'm trying to work on cutting down on my time. But these were some really, really good stocks here to get into, like CLSK, another one. I bought at 265, sold at 319. That was a really good trade. AEY, I think I sold it for a minimal profit. I don't really remember. Just kind of get in, got back out, even though it went up higher. And I remember doing this video, and I said I think this can go higher. I bought at 302 the day before, and then I sold at 344. Next day went to 393, right? So I really left like 50 cents a share on the table. And I bought with a small account, a small Thinkorswim account. APTX, I think I sold this for a negligible loss. What was this? About 4 cents, 1 cent, right? I saw that it wasn't going to go any higher, and I sold because it wasn't going to go any higher. This is one that I think more of the price action on the level 2 showed that it wasn't going to go any higher. So, that's all I got for now. I do want to go over Carver one day, because I feel like Carver, when it comes to black banks, that's one that's not showing everything or all the good that it could do, but the candlestick shows that it's not. So you just kind of like almost leave it alone. Vero was one that I bought in the after hours. This was a bad trade. This is a bad trade mainly because you see this wide gap. So I'm gonna leave this for another video. I will do Vero, Carver, because Carver I got in on, and that was a better short than a buy. And Blink, I think Blink I should have sold for a higher profit, in which I did not. I think I sold for a negligible loss. Yeah, 505, and I sold at what, 5. I bought in at 505. No, 550. I'm sorry, I said 505. 550, and I sold at 543. When technically, even though I bought in the pre-market, which is what I never like to do either. And then I bought some more, thinking that it was going to go higher. I could have just sold into that spike. Just take my $1 a share. I don't know why I didn't. Well, it was 80 cents a share. I could have just taken that, but I didn't. And yeah, so I ended up losing 7 cents, because my average was 550. So that was one. Even though that this could still go up on Monday. So this is one to also watch. But I'll do another video on these BLNK, Carver, where are you? BLNK, Carver, and Vero. Right? And those three I need to do a separate video on. But yeah, that's it for this one. I'm probably 15 minutes in now, or close to. Thank you for listening. Please comment or subscribe below, and also just follow the time frames that I put on the bottom. You can kind of like scroll through and be able to see a little bit better. I will get some time where there's 2 things I really need to do. One of them is to really clean up some of these YouTube videos so you feel somewhat entertained. I'm not big on entertaining. I just want to educate you and just show you what I see when it comes to these stocks, particularly these EMA gappers. And also I want to do my profit loss chart, because I haven't been able to look at it or do my my profit loss on Excel spreadsheet. I get frustrated when I try to do it, because I'm trying to make it simple, and I have a lot that I'm doing. So I need to really be able to hunker down and make that spreadsheet. I'm up on this week a little under 1,500, so I want to make sure that I continue to show you everything that I can. So once again, thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, leave any comments below in the comment section below, and I'll see you on the next video. Thank you so much.